let's say I have one of those disputes and I call this office to, ask about setting up a mediation. How does that phone call with you go? What types of questions do you ask? What does that look like?
Well, our goal as the case coordinators is to really do a couple of things. First, we have to identify that the case that you're bringing to us is something that we can mediate. Most of the time we can. If it's like a criminal matter or a very, complex case, then we would have to refer that out. But so that's our first job, identifying that the case is something that we can take in. Number two, we try to figure out what has the client done to try to mitigate the situation. Because when we come in, when we call the responding party, we want to be that last step. The initiator, who is the person bringing the complaint to us, has already tried certain things. They've already called, they've already sent letters, they've already sent emails, and it hasn't worked. So now that's why they're coming to us. So we want to know what you have done. What has the client done to try to mitigate the situation? And so if the dispute is at that point where, okay, now we can intervene, my next question is, okay, I need the contact information. So the initiating party provides me with the contact information for the responding party. And then the latter part of the conversation is really giving the information to the client. Now I'm going to send a dispute letter. I'm going to follow up with a phone call. If the responding party agrees to mediate, then we will set up an appointment and I'm going to be in contact with you to get that scheduled.
Great.
Mm-hmm. So those are kind of like the questions that we asked during that intake call. Sometimes, we find that it's a dispute that we are unable to mediate for a couple of reasons. It might be that the initiating party says, that sounds great, but I don't think this is right for me. I don't think that mediation is appropriate for me, or I don't want to drive down there, or whatever reason parties might have or clients might have to not want to mediate. A lot of the work also involves just helping them create an action plan for their dispute. So it might be that sometimes we get clients who just call in, and a very common example, for example, they call in and they say, my neighbor's dog barks all night long and I don't know what to do. I don't know my neighbor's name. I don't know where to go. And so a lot of that work is just kind of helping them understand, what can they do? Okay, you have this dispute, you have this problem. What are the steps that you can take? And if they don't work, then we can end in a mediation. But let's talk about what you can do in between before you get to that point. So a lot of the work in those intake calls, as we call them, is just kind of figuring out if we can mediate it, or if there's certain things that need to be done before we can mediate it, or refer it out if it's something that we are not going to be able to schedule.